Okay, welcome to Make Something Happen 37. In this one, we're going to do something which I think you should, everyone should do this at least once in their lives. Maybe not everyone, but every programmer using Git should do this. It's a way to travel. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually get the example program onto our machine from the Git command line. Now this is a skill which you will find useful across lots of platforms. You can go on the web and you can browse for Git repositories and you can pull them down from GitHub using the browser and other tools, and that's wonderful. But it's also rather nice if you know how to actually use it from the command line, because sometimes the command line is all you have. There is no graphical user interface, and that isn't a bad thing. I like using the command line. You can type exactly what you want and watch it happen. So I'm in the tiny survey we built last time, which has these renders of the EJS files that contain the pages, and I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to say close workspace, close folder. There we go. That's gone. Now I'm going to make a new one, which I can call a example tiny survey, which is the example tiny survey from the, and I'm going to make a new open. I could open folder from here. Why not? Let's do it that way rather than. Now I can go and find my projects, and I can make a new directory called example tiny survey. It doesn't matter what you, well, you give it a good, don't call it frog or chicken or my other car's a Lamborghini. That's very hard to type and also probably not true. So we're going to call it that, and I'll just create the survey, create the folder, and then select it, and then go boo-boo-doo, and it's completely empty because there's nothing in it. You learn stuff on this, don't you? Right, so what I will now do, yes, and I still trust myself. Yes, I still trust me. If you can't trust yourself, who can you trust? What I will now do is I'll open a terminal program, and I'll do it that way this time, and it will wake up with a bit of luck inside the tiny surveys folder. So you can do the same. You can put it where you like, and it will just work. And if I do an ls to look at what the files are in there, it is empty. It is devoid of contact. It contains nothing. Now this is the point where I can use the git command, not the got command, the git command, and I can say I want to actually clone something. When you clone a repository, C-O-N-E, then that means take a copy of it, and now you get to watch me type in something and make it work, which is always a massive giggle, and it's going to come from github.com, because that's where GitHub put their stuff, and there is an organization for this book called Building Apps and Games in the Cloud. B-U-I-L-D, building hyphen apps hyphen, is it and with a capital A? No, and games hyphen in the. Now if it goes wrong, then I'll just cry. That's when I was a younger programmer and I was teaching people how to code and whatnot and solving their problems. One week I tried wearing contact lenses rather than glasses, and people would bring in their broken programs and I would cry for them. So I don't do that anymore. So yeah, tiny survey. Now what this means is that on the web I have created a GitHub repository called Tiny Survey, and it's in the organization Building Apps and Games in the Cloud, the one for this book, and that's all on GitHub. And I'm putting off pressing enter because I'm scared it might not work, but there you are, I've done it. And it goes and it bang, and it just works. And watch what's happening now to my folders in files in this folder. If I go and have a look here, then I'll find that I've got lots of files. I should have some files in here, shouldn't I? If I do an ls, let's see what we got. Oh, it's made a folder called Tiny Survey. That wasn't. That's fine. So now I can go into here. If I go File, Open, I'll close this folder, and I'll open up the one it's just the GitHub just created for me. So now I'll go File, Open folder, and it's put it at one level down like zip files do sometimes in a rather annoying way. So I go into Example Tiny Survey, and I find a folder called Tiny Survey, which I can now select, and hey ding a ding, we now have all the files that we've pulled down from our repository. So when you give clone a command to clone a repository, it will put that in a folder of its own, which is absolutely fine. And here are all the files. If we have a look in views, we'll find the pages, the templates for the pages. They've got a lot bigger because they're now fully working. We've also got a tinysurvey.mjs, which is the actual application, which has got a lot bigger. And for the next few pages in the book, we're going to go through this and basically discover how it works. But for now, let's play with it. So if I go back to my terminal again, please, open new terminal, then my terminal is now running, so I can give commands by hand. We're inside the right folder. What I want to do is I want to run the tiny survey, so I go node tinysurvey.mjs, and with a bit of luck, it's not worked. Well, why hasn't it worked? Well, let's look at what we've got. What are we missing, people? I can see a hand at the back. What have I not done? I have not fetched the actual library contents. All I've got here is lots of programs that use libraries, but no libraries. I have to do this. I have to go npm install. Now what that means is look in the package.json file and go off and find all the libraries. Remember gitignore? Gitignore says don't put all the library files in the repository. So tinysurvey.mjs is just this bunch of files, hasn't got any library. So I have to go like that, and now there'll be a rattling noise. Now we'll hear quite a lot of things happening. Now my computer isn't very quick. I've deliberately done all my exercises on the slowest computer I can find, which is quite slow. But even then, it only took a few seconds, and 74 packages in 8 seconds. That's pretty good. So now if I do the same command, press up, boop, everything springs to life because the libraries are now there. Now they make something happen in the book, which of course you've all bought copies of, is completely correct. The sequencing there is fine. It's just me getting too excited. It happens about 3 times a year. So we've got it running. It's sitting behind port 8080. Let's see if we can do a survey. So if I go back here, if I keep on going back to the index page and then do a reload, then we now have our tiny survey web page telling us, and we're going to, if we pick Rob's Pizza and hit open, it'll say, okay, what do you want to put in your survey? Now, it just so happens Margarita will go in there. Pepperoni will go in there. You can see that I may have done this a few times. Nothing like a rehearsal. So these are the toppings you might want to have in a pizza if you come to my house. And you can pick the one you want, and then we'll order the number of pizzas. I used to do this when we had game night, game jams, and everyone wanted different pizzas. If I hit start, then now I can vote for my pizza. I'm going to vote for pepperoni because I always do, and I hit send, and now there's one vote for pepperoni and there's no votes for anything else. If I go back to the options page and refresh it, then I can resubmit that form if I like. And if I now go let's put in a vote for chicken, why not? Send, and now we can see there's one vote for pepperoni. So fundamentally it's working. Our application is working, and that's at this point in the text all I really care about, because we'll actually be deciding in the next parts of the book exactly how it does what it does. So to recap, I've been on to GitHub. I've made a brand new folder with my example stuff in it. I've then gone and used a single git command at the command prompt to go off to the internet, fetch the repository, and then bring in all the files. It put them in a folder. I dropped into the folder. I then said run it, and of course it blew up because all the GitHub repository has got is just the bits that I wrote. We also need the bits specified in package.json, which are the names of the libraries, the dependencies. So I did an npm install, which means go off and get my dependencies and bring them all in, please. And at that point, I ran the program, did a survey, it worked. There was a tumultuous round of applause. Go on, clap now. Why not? And then the program actually worked, and we're all very happy. So that's there, and now you can see it going. In the next one, we'll actually start looking inside the code and seeing what it does. But that's the next one, not this one. Cheers.